Every year, Australians spend more than $5 billion on refrigeration energy costs. We also spend about $9 billion a year on air conditioning energy costs as well. Most Australian companies currently use synthetic refrigerants in their refrigeration and air conditioning units, but a new move to new systems with energy-efficient natural refrigerants could potentially reduce these bills by billions of dollars. One of the major companies leading the way in the adoption of natural refrigerants is Coles Supermarkets. In a world first, they've totally switched the air conditioning and refrigeration in one of their stores to natural refrigerants. That move has reduced their aircon and refrigeration energy bills in that store by 35%. In this case study, I spoke with Stuart Saville from Coles to find out how they did it. I also caught up with the Australian Refrigeration Association to find out more about the other major companies who are making the switch. Stuart Saville, thanks for coming on Smart Money. Coles have been very proactive in making the switch to using natural refrigerants. For viewers who may not be familiar with that term, can you explain what natural refrigerants are and where you're using them here in this store?
Natural refrigerants are naturally occurring, non-synthetic substances that we use in all of our refrigeration and air conditioning plant. This store's a prime example, surrounded here in the freezer department of the local store here. All of these cases are actually running on a natural solution. CO2 is the refrigerant we're using in this store.
What is actually driving this switch to natural refrigerants? What are the drivers for Coles?
It's efficiency, it's operating costs, and it's also, we have a very low to zero impact from a direct to the environment, global warming, for a direct emissions perspective.
So what journey have you been on then that's led you to this position where you're using natural refrigerants?
It's a long-term strategy for Coles. We started this journey back in 2004 with our first green store in Gisborne in Victoria. So right through to now where we're seeing that this is our current standard now. So every store that we build, we put this standard in.
About 30% of the refrigerant being used in this supermarket is natural refrigerant. How many Coles stores now are at that 30% level? And what kind of financial savings are you seeing?
We have just over 120 stores of this standard in our fleet nationally now. When we started looking at making our current standard what you see around you now, we actually benchmarked one of our stores, our award-winning store at Hallam, against our previous synthetic refrigerant store. And what we were able to deliver is a 20% efficiency gain in electrical consumption over our previous standard.
So you're seeing about a 20% drop in energy costs then, I guess?
That's correct, yes.
Now, in Coburg North in Victoria, you've got a bit of a claim to make now. You've got, is it the world's first supermarket that's gone 100% fully switched over to natural refrigerant?
That's correct. The first for us comes from the fact that we've actually combined both our air conditioning and our refrigeration in the one plant design. And yes, so it's not just a first for us, for an Australian retailer, it's actually a first internationally.
What kind of savings are you seeing with that 100% natural refrigerant approach?
Over the summer period, which is the most energy-intensive period for a transcritical plant design, we've been actually able to deliver a 35% saving against our previous synthetic refrigerant standard.
So you've basically dropped your refrigeration cost by about a third?
That's true, yes, we have. It's funny, when you look back over the journey, you get these small incremental savings as you move along the path of efficiency. And what we've found in this instance is once we've been able to step back and look to where we were before natural refrigerants to where we are now with our trial store at Coburg in Victoria, it's a monumental step. So it's 35% reduction in energy consumption for our current standard size store.
Given that 35% cost saving, do you expect to see more retailers, more companies making the switch to natural refrigerants?
What we're seeing, we're already starting to see that there's an emerging trend with many companies actually transitioning from their synthetic type refrigerants to a natural solution. They're doing it for all the right reasons, and what we'll find though is that we probably won't get 100% saturation in new stores coming forward with a natural solution until such time as regulation changes.
For people who might be looking now thinking this natural refrigerant thing looks like it saves money, it's good for the environment, and they're thinking of making the switch, what advice would you give them?
It's efficient, it saves them operating costs, and it has zero impact on the environment from a direct emissions perspective. So you'd have to ask, why wouldn't you be looking at it? So, and I think that it would be remiss on an end user not to be making a decision to at least look at an option for a natural solution when they're actually looking at a new store or retrofitting a plant in an existing store.
Tim, you're the head of the Australian Refrigeration Association. Why are we seeing such a big push towards the use of natural refrigerants?
Yeah, natural refrigerants are just better in every way. You know, they're highly energy efficient and they're environmentally preferable. And so we win both ways. We save money and we do the right thing by the environment.
Most people watching now would be using synthetic refrigerants. What are synthetic refrigerants and why do you prefer natural refrigerants?
The synthetic refrigerants are chemically manufactured materials for heat transfer. The natural refrigerants are ammonia, CO2, and hydrocarbons. They're naturally occurring substances that are just better at transferring heat in a refrigeration context.
Unilever recently pushed out 12,000 Streets ice cream freezers across Australia and New Zealand, and they used only natural refrigerants. What was your reaction to that? Were you surprised by the scale of the rollout?
Well, I was really thrilled, of course, because it's what they ought to be doing. And what they're doing is saving energy costs for their clients. But no, I wasn't surprised because there are 1 million display cabinets in Australia and tens of millions worldwide, and you're going to continue to see that development.
I understand the Consumer Goods Forum have swung heavily behind the use of natural refrigerants. For viewers who aren't familiar with the Consumer Goods Forum, who are they and why is that endorsement so important?
Yep. The Consumer Goods Forum is a global organization that represents the food retailers and food manufacturers. So big food retailers in Europe, but also our Woolworths and our Metcash, and food suppliers like Unilever and Coke and Nestle. You add them all up, worldwide they turn over in excess of $4 trillion a year. And they've made the unequivocal commitment to take their refrigeration technology to natural refrigerants.
There's an organisation called Refrigerants Naturally that's an alliance of big organisations that's come together to specifically promote the use of natural refrigerants. Why is that alliance so important and who's part of it?
So the members are, again, Coke, Pepsi, Red Bull, SAB Miller, and those organizations did the initial research, but now they've said, we're committed, we're taking all of our display cabinets and refrigeration systems to natural refrigerants. So it's a very strong endorsement of natural refrigerant technology.
How much do we spend every year on refrigeration energy in Australia, and what kind of savings could you think we could get if we fully switched over to the use of natural refrigerants?
Australia spends about $5 billion a year. We've got really solid data from the Department of the Environment on that, a study called Cold Hard Facts 2. And that data indicates that, as I say, we spend about $5 billion and we can save at least a billion, probably more like $1.5 billion from refrigeration alone, not to mention air conditioning and so on.
Coles have just changed one of their stores, Coburg North, to be 100% in its use of natural refrigerants. What's your reaction to that?
That's fantastic because, you know, as I understand it, they're realizing dramatic energy savings, rapid payback, a good thing for them to invest in, and enables them to tell their clients that they're environmentally responsible.
Final question, Tim. Why should Australia make the move towards using natural refrigerants?
You know, we save the country a great deal of money, so we become, as a country, more competitive in all of the things that we do, particularly food production and food export. We grow our export capability because we're really good at this natural refrigerant stuff. We reduce our imports because all of the synthetic refrigerants are imported. We deliver a better environmental outcome, and we guide the developing world in the use of natural refrigerants.
As you just saw, after they fully switched over a store to natural refrigerants, Coles reduced their air conditioning and refrigeration bills by 35%. It's an amazing world-first achievement, and you really have to take off your hat to Coles for achieving that. In looking at natural refrigerants, I found 3 key things that are useful for businesses. First up, what Coles have done shows the importance of keeping up to date with the latest innovations in technology. it can really help you to identify money-saving opportunities. Secondly, if you have older air conditioning and refrigeration equipment, look around for a natural refrigerant replacement. And finally, what Coles are doing shows the benefit of maximising the efficiency of your operations. As they've shown really well, there are still big savings to be had out there.